You have been studying English for years, you know the grammar, and you can even have a conversation, but you still don't sound like a true American. It's frustrating when your speaking feels boring or flat, and you feel that deep disappointment when you realize people are struggling to understand your accent despite your perfect vocabulary. In this video, I am going to give you the exact solution to that hidden sound, so you can finally speak like a true American and feel the confidence you've always wanted. I've met so many students who have reached a high level of English, yet they still feel like an outsider because their rhythm isn't quite right. We are going to go beyond the textbook today and dive into the actual flow of spoken American English. Think of English not as a list of words, but as a song with a specific beat that you haven't been taught in school. What if I told you that the secret to sounding native isn't about learning more words, but about how you connect the words you already know? Today, we aren't just going to study English. We are going to train your ears and your mouth to move in a completely new way. The real secret to sounding American is something called shadowing and muscle memory. If you just listen to stories and actively move your mouth along with me, it creates new pathways in your brain that help you speak effortlessly. We are going to practice with 6 long, immersive stories. Don't just listen, mimic my tone, my pauses, and the way I stretch certain vowels. Imagine a young man named Elias who moved to New York City with a suitcase and a dream of becoming a top architect. Elias spoke English well, but he noticed that every time he ordered coffee, people asked him to repeat himself. He realized that in his home country, every syllable had the same weight, but in America, sentences are like waves. Some parts are loud and long, while others almost disappear. He began sitting in Central Park, not reading books, but closing his eyes and listening to the Schwa sound, that lazy, relaxed O sound that Americans use for almost every unstressed vowel. One afternoon, a heavy rainstorm began, and Elias found himself sheltering under a gazebo next to an elderly woman named Clara. Clara had lived in the city for 80 years. They started talking about the changing skyline. Elias realized that instead of saying, "I am going to the office," Clara said, "I'm gonna head to the office." The words melted together. He began to copy her, letting the T sounds soften into D sounds, and suddenly, for the first time, he wasn't an international student. He was just a New Yorker having a chat. He practiced this for months, narrating his life as he walked through the streets, turning his daily commute into a masterclass in rhythm. In another part of the country, out in the rolling hills of Montana, there was a woman named Sarah who worked at a local ranch. Sarah was a brilliant biologist from overseas, but she felt her voice lacked the soul of the American West. She noticed that the locals didn't just speak, they used their breath differently. They used intonation to show emotion rather than just changing their words. One morning, while helping a neighbor fix a fence, she practiced the American R. She noticed that unlike her native language where the tongue taps the roof of the mouth, the American R is a dark sound where the tongue pulls back into the throat, almost like a growl. She started practicing this while driving her truck, repeating phrases like, "The red tractor is near the river." Over time, the tension in her jaw began to fade. She learned that sounding American wasn't about being loud, it was about being relaxed. The more she let her vowels flow into one another, the more the locals began to treat her like one of their own, inviting her to Sunday dinners and community dances where she finally felt she truly belonged. Meanwhile, in the tech hubs of San Francisco, a software engineer named Leo was struggling to lead meetings. He was brilliant at coding, but his staccato way of speaking made him sound robotic and unapproachable. He decided to study the connected speech of his colleagues. He saw that Americans rarely stop between words. Instead of saying, "Would you like a cup of tea?" they said, "Would you like a cup of tea?" He realized that English is a stress-timed language, meaning the time between stressed words is always about the same. He began to practice by listening to jazz music, trying to match the syncopation of the saxophone with his own voice. He would stand in front of the mirror every morning, practicing, linking, letting the final consonant of one word slide into the first vowel of the next. Within 6 months, Leo wasn't just leading meetings, he was inspiring his team with a voice that sounded natural, fluid, and unmistakably American. Far away in New Orleans, a young woman named Maya was fascinated by the way people told stories. The rhythm there was different, slower, more melodic, but still following those core American rules of reduction. She spent her evenings on her porch, listening to the way her neighbors greeted each other. She noticed the stop T at the end of words like hot or cat, where the air is cut off instead of released with a puff. She began to treat her speech like an instrument. She would read old Southern plays aloud, focusing on the musicality of the vowels. She learned that to sound American, you have to embrace the vowels and let them breathe. She stopped worrying about being perfect and started focusing on being expressive. This shift changed everything. People stopped asking her where she was from and started asking her for her opinion on local politics, showing she had finally crossed the invisible line into true fluency. In the busy suburbs of Chicago, a teacher named David found that his students responded better when he used reduced forms. Instead of saying, "I do not know," he started saying, "I don't know." He realized that formal English, the kind taught in textbooks, actually creates a barrier between people. By using the natural contractions and reductions of American speech, he became more relatable. He started a daily habit of recording his own voice while reading local news articles and then comparing it to the original broadcaster. He focused on pitch, the way Americans raise their voice at the end of a thought to signal curiosity or lower it to signal authority. He learned that your voice is a tool for connection. The more he mastered the hidden sounds of the Midwest, the more his classroom felt like a community. Finally, consider the story of a traveler named Julian who hiked the Pacific Crest Trail. Along the way, he met people from every corner of America. He realized there wasn't just one American accent, but there was one American feeling, a sense of directness and casual confidence. He noticed that regardless of the region, the most fluent sounding people were those who didn't overpronounce every letter. They let the language be lazy in the right places. He practiced dropping the H in words like him or her when they weren't important to the sentence. He would practice saying, "Tell him I'll be there," instead of "Tell him I will be there." By the time he finished his 1,000-mile journey, his voice had changed. It had become rugged, natural, and resilient. He realized that speaking like an American wasn't just a skill, it was a way of seeing the world, with openness and a lack of pretense. You have the tools now to transform your voice, but remember that the most magnetic quality a person can have isn't just their accent, it's how they handle the world around them. To truly master your presence and your mind, you must learn the art of emotional control. Watch my next video on the power of not reacting to discover how silence and composure can make you more influential than any words ever could.